Hi, I'm Ronnie Panu, Director and Founder of Panu Tax Disputes and Investigations. At Panu Tax, we help our clients to resolve and manage all types of HMRC inquiries, disputes and investigations. Now, the reality, supported by official statistics, is that the vast majority of tax issues, inquiries or disputes are resolved through negotiation or compromise agreement with HMRC. But it doesn't necessarily mean that getting to a negotiated or compromised position with HMRC is always a smooth or speedy process. So what should you do if your HMRC inquiry or dispute is stuck? So if your inquiry is stuck or you've reached an impasse with your tax inspector, there are a number of things that your advisor could try and unblock it. So your advisor could, if a formal decision has been made by HMRC, request an internal review. So this is where an inspector that's independent from the one that you were dealing with reviews your facts and your case to decide whether the original inspector came to the right decision. In my experience, the reality is that you rarely get a change of decision following this internal review. But it can still be a way of engaging with somebody new, a different inspector from the one that made the decision. And I've used this in the past where, for example, we believe that the inspector may have prejudged the issue, or you've got an inspector who may not be taking into account facts or arguments that you think are relevant. So in these circumstances, getting someone new, perhaps a fresh pair of eyes from within HMRC to review the position can sometimes help to bring matters back on track. If you're experiencing delays from HMRC in your inquiry or dispute which you feel are unacceptable, or you feel as though you provided HMRC with all the documents and information they need to make a decision but one isn't forthcoming, then you do, as a taxpayer, have the legal right to go to the tax tribunal and ask them to issue what is called a closure notice. A closure notice can force HMRC to close the inquiry or to take specific actions to get to that point. So again, this can be an effective approach that I've used in the past to help to move matters forward where they're stuck. However, care needs to be taken and it should only be used in appropriate cases. Another really effective way of unblocking disputes or inquiries can be to consider whether ADR, or alternative dispute resolution, could be appropriate in your circumstances. ADR is a relatively new concept in the tax world, but it's been around in commercial disputes for a number of years. And the real value of ADR as far as tax disputes are concerned is that, again, it can bring in someone independent from the inspector you've been dealing with, usually somebody from HMRC that's been trained in mediation techniques. This mediator then works with both parties to try to come to some sort of compromise agreement. Now, as part of this process, the inspector, the mediator, should be asking both sides the right questions. And for HMRC, his own side, he should be asking questions such as, why has this matter not been resolved until now? What are the real blockers to settlement? Is this a matter on which HMRC really want to litigate? And if they don't, then how is this issue going to be resolved? So taking this type of approach and asking these sorts of penetrating questions can be a really effective way of bringing matters to a conclusion. And that's why ADR is gaining popularity. If all other attempts to resolve your dispute or inquiry on a negotiated or compromise basis fail, then the last resort is often to refer your appeal for hearing before the tax tribunal. Now, the tax tribunal is a body that's independent from HMRC, who listen to the facts, review the evidence and the arguments, and ultimately decide the outcome. So referring your appeal to the tax tribunal in this way can force the inspector to go through HMRC's internal governance process, and in doing so ask themselves the question as to whether this is an issue again in which HMRC wishes to litigate, and if not, how a compromise can be reached. And so this can open the door for further discussion and negotiation. However, litigation is something never to be entered into lightly, And so you need to be aware of the risks in going down this road, as well as realistic chances of success.